Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first installment of the Brick by Brick podcast. I'm your producer, Hashio Kerai, and with this podcast, we hope to learn more about the people we know in and out of the construction industry. This will be a platform for professionals to give us amazing insights about their occupation and what is behind the professionals themselves. Every single one of our guests will have great stories about what has led them up to this point, with each and every single experience containing gems to learn from. So without further ado, let's kick off the podcast.
I got a job in a factory in Harlesden, earning 37 quid a whole week.
Whenever I join the company or even anything I want to do in my life, I want the results straight away. But because I don't get it, I just give up.
Construction company. And said, you are doing the waterproof. I said, no, we're working for other waterproof company. Oh, and then it clicked me again. In one house, the people used to live 10, 15 people. One kitchen, shower, 2 bathroom, and it was hard time.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Brick by Brick podcast by Team Elm Pride. Today our guest is the founder, director, creator, inspirer, and also dad by default, is the boss, Mr. Kuji Kerai of Elm Pride Limited. So Kuji, welcome to the podcast. You're the bankroller as well, so
Pleasure.
yeah. How are you today? You okay?
Yeah.
So look, let's just get straight into it. I'll refer to him not as Kuji, but as dad, because that comes first. So you're 62 years old right now. Where did you grow up? And how did you get to the UK?
Well, I grew up in 3 countries. Born in India, then obviously moved to Kenya, and finally end up here in UK. So in UK it has been almost 45 years. In Kenya it was about 6 years. And in India it was 13 years. So that's how the 62 years has gone.
So what part of India did you grow up in?
Yeah, in Gujarat state, west part of India. Within the Gujarat there is a district called Kutch, and within the Kutch capital is Bhuj. So still from the Bhuj there is a rural area which is a village called Narapur. That's where I born, and lucky enough that I was the first child of my parents out of 4, eldest one. And be a eldest one, I think the parents are like the first child, the favorable. And other things, I think he has to work hard to when the other kids are born. So, but well, I find lucky myself. And life in India in the rural ways is what very different than what the kids are having a life in here in this stage. Life, we used to go to school. My first school was at the age of 4, and obviously then went to primary school and did not finish primary school, and my dad already migrated to Kenya. My mother was still in Kenya, and so my dad thought there is a better education or maybe better life to migrate him to Kenya. Obviously, so me and my second brother went to Kenya just for a study. Obviously, in Kenya, it was still a hardship because the father has to cook himself. People were living in a one room, about 6 to 10 people, and you have to do the cooking, they have to work, and still parents thought, so let's work hard for our children. And so they struggled, and he worked. He serviced for some other construction company, obviously. And then I went myself and my brother in a ship, not in a flight, because it was expensive to fly, obviously. And then it took 7 days to travel in the sea to Mombasa, and then obviously we went to Nairobi, and the rest of my 6 years life, from 73 to 79, I stayed in a temple, in Swaminarayan Temple in Kirianga Road. That was the first, I think, start of my journey towards God, because we have stayed in temple. And that's all. It all taught us how to cook it, because mother wasn't here. And then obviously we have to wash our clothes, we have to go to school, study ourselves. And unfortunately, when we traveled from India to Kenya, it was Gujarati, and when it was admitted in Nairobi, it was 3 years has been set back, because they'll keep you according to you how you speak or how you write in English. So obviously, he wasted 3 years. But anyway, the aim was that if my father has called me to do the study, obviously we have to work hard. So by having a tuition, and then we managed to get the primary school, which is standard 5. So study there and done the standard 7 and got the good result to admit a government school in a secondary. And so mostly it was just study 6 years. And in between vacation, we used to go to dead site, do carpentry, just to know the basic. And basically the whole ground of basic background of our community is construction. Obviously, my grandfather used to be a farmer. From farmer to my father's generation, our generation has moved to construction. And the reason the people are into the construction, obviously they are showing more standard, more money, obviously. My idea was to less work in a construction. But again, at the age of 20, which is a matured life at that time, 50 years ago, so obviously parents are worried about get married. So they said, "Oh, you still want to study or you want to get married?" Because for marriage was already done long ago when we were born in India by the parents, by the grandparents.
The families decide already.
Yeah.
Before you don't get a choice. The families
No.
just decide already, yeah.
I've been given a choice whether you want to study or you want to marry or you want to go to UK. And then obviously again migrating from Kenya to UK, obviously people are looking, the other previously people went there and see what's the opportunity and what they are benefiting or what they getting good life. Again, in that sense, I thought if my parents had looked for my future, so let's move to where maybe more better future. So I decided to move to UK under Mrs. Citizenship. And again, when you migrate from one country to other country, from other country to other country, it's a hardship. You start with a scratch, and I landed here on the 17th of September 1979.
You remember the date still?
So, and then after 2 days, it was my birthday.
Yeah.
And I obviously wasn't married ceremony happened, so obviously I went to Woolwich, where my uncle was there. And then within 3 months, we get married on the 2nd of December 1979. So obviously, again, I have to decide whether I stay near my in-laws, which was necessary because you get help, you get a job, and any help there is better rather than staying 17 miles away.
So your in-laws were somewhere else and you were in Woolwich. So where were your in-laws? Northwest London, right?
No, my in-laws. So obviously, when you not get married,
Yeah.
you have to go to your relative,
Yeah.
my father's relative side, which is uncle
Yeah.
in Woolwich. So obviously, I can't go to in-laws straight away without get
Married.
obviously. So everything was decided, and then obviously I have to look for the job. So I thought, I'll find a job first of all. Does not matter what type of job I will get, because if you're not going to work for a long time, it's difficult to survive, especially in a Western world. So a couple of weeks time, through the relation and through the knowing people, I got a job in a factory in Harlesden, in Acton, which was making all these files and papers and envelope. And I said, let's work there. And earning 37 quid a whole week,
Wow.
the gross. So obviously, it was a low rate, but it's better to start than nothing. And if you don't start, then you don't get used to it. The weather, people, workmanship in this country. So obviously, but obviously couldn't find the work in a building industry.
Yeah.
So obviously, to work in a building industry, I did not have any scholarship, workmanship, or apprentice of carpentry or plaster or any type of building work. So obviously, I thought I wanted to do work in a building site. So no basic knowledge, obviously. As I said, in Kenya, I used to go to site, and most people, relatives, are in a construction. So you know the basics. So then we started looking for a job while I was working in a factory. And what happened, unfortunately, that factory going to get closed down in London, and they want to move it to countryside, and they redundant us. So they give us a notice. In meantime, we went to look for a job. At that time, it was you have to go physically on a site to ask for vacancy. And that are you looking for a laborer, or looking for a carpenter or plaster? And that's how used to decide it. So obviously me and my mate went together, which my mate does not know the language. So he took me with him, and I was, I can speak a language, so obviously. And when we went on the Telewood side, and he was as a plaster, he got the job, and I did not get the job while I was. And I said, because I didn't knew the plaster, so I said I want to work as a laborer, as to move the stuff and sweep the rubbish and fill the skip, whatever. So obviously, again, I was just looking for, through my mate, after 4 weeks, I've been told my mate that we got a vacancy with me. So he took me. So I started a laboring work in Lambeth, in Vauxhall, for a year. And then obviously you started getting the material, people, timing. And then after second years in the UK, they transferred it to another site, which was a new site, Crystal Palace Football Ground. And they sent me for the laborer, and that was the third year I started. And by that time, I already had my vehicle license. So I was driving there. Then the traffic, there was no traffic. It used to take 40 minutes from Harlesden to Crystal Palace. And
Nowadays, that would take like 4 hours almost to get there.
So,
across London.
But then obviously my uncle who kept me when I first moved to the UK, he was working in the same company. So we used to travel together. And I used to do labor again. And obviously working in a new site with earth moving, it was very hard work. You have to break the concrete, excess concrete, sweep, driving the wheelbarrow, filling the skip, and working with the concrete people. So, and I didn't give it up. I didn't feel any guilty or that why I'm doing hard work. At that time, when you work 3 years constantly and paying a tax, at that time you can apply for the self-employed. They used to call it 715. Obviously, 3 years completed, paid the tax, and then I look for a self-employed. And then again, friend of mine, through his uncle, he took me to the job and working as a carpenter. So I knew to handle the hammer or saw or measuring, and then work 4 months there, which they call 30%. You pay 30% tax as a self-employed, then you apply for 715, which is a tax exemption card,
Yeah.
obviously. And that means whenever you go work for a self-employed for any other, they give you the full gross and you pay the tax. So obviously after 4 months, apply for the 715, and I got the 715 card. And then I said, because it was the local and it wasn't good opportunity again within the friend, so I said I'll look for, I'm now fully self-employed, let's look at work for someone else independently as a self-employed. Obviously there used to be an agency, so you go for vacancy, ask for the vacancy for agency, as they call it, a supplier, labor supplier. And then I said, yes, I'm a carpenter.
Yeah.
So they said, okay, go on the site. Went on the site and worked for 6 months as a carpenter in a mate. So you have to have a mate. So he help you, he show you what to do, and as a mate.
Like an apprentice, you're like a little bit of an
apprentice.
Yeah.
But still, you at that time you was qualified as a carpenter,
As a carpenter.
as long as you know. At that time, no one was looking for a
Qualification.
or all they're looking for the experience.
Yeah.
And obviously, then I worked 6 months in the suppliers agency, but the problem was they make you 1 week one side of the London, they send you 1 day somewhere else, so you have traveling with the tools in a train or in a car or in a central London. I said, no, I got to 7.5, let's move further, something. At that time, still, I didn't have in mind to be a director or working for yourself as a businessman. Obviously, I worked 6 months and I said, no, this is not right again, because you have to come home about 7 o'clock. And I think at that time, I already had a first child.
First child.
Yeah, in 81. So again, you restricted with the timing, restricted with the working, and obviously to look after with the wife's child. Then obviously 83. Then after just about 4 years, I said I need to look for a better job. So obviously I looked in the Evening Standard, where's the carpenter now? Because at that time, after 9 months, I had a fully confident in a carpentry in terms of side carpentry, not joinery. Obviously, he got the numbers from the Evening Standard and rang the, not agency, direct the main contractor. And they said, yeah, we got a job. So I went the first day in September 1984 in Houston, where UCL people lives accommodation.
Oh, the university accommodation.
Yeah. The contractor was refurbishing. So, and it was an English company. So obviously they asked me do the sash window, do the carpentry, and the sash window was the first attempt, because there is no sash window in India or in Kenya that you would come across. It was exists in this country. So I just used my brain. Okay, it works on a pulley, on a rope. the beading, that I was already confident to pull it out. And then boss dad was a site foreman, and he said, because the other carpenter has done this chest window, but they are no good. They are still not functioning, they're stucking and not fully closed. So he sent me, I done a couple of them, and he saw it, and he was pleased. And he told his son, which is the director for the company, he said, this guy is a good carpenter, keep him. So the 6-month job finished there, he gave me transfer to other job, and he kept me as long as I was there. And then, so I never, without a job in carpentry with the main contractor, they were based in a Box Hill, Leatherhead. But the most of the works are the hospital works, accommodation work, commercial work, obviously. At like 2 years, I says working for someone on 40 hours, you got a limited money to come. So when you get something limited, you have to do everything to limited. In everything, basically, we all know now. Food, traveling, holiday, clothes, XYZ. And at the same time, while I was working in the factory, I got my father-in-law make me to buy a house. Obviously, then there was a mortgage, but he helped me to buy the house, because even now and in the future, everyone need a house, and they need to be in a property ladder. Otherwise, to be rental throughout the life, you spending the whole money in the rent or whatever. So basically, that's the theory of our community, especially Indian, I think.
So everybody in your community, when they had all come to UK from India or Kenya, did they all share that, your friends, your family, that you have to buy a house? It was so important to buy a house.
Yes, they encouraged it, because they knew that when they moved before me, like 10, 15 years ago, they had a very hard to stay in the house when they needed a house. In one house, the people used to live 10, 15 people. If you got 6 rooms, so 12 people used to stay there in one kitchen, shower, 1-2 bathroom, and it was hard time at that time. So the parents who moved, in-laws who moved here, they already faced this difficulty. So their sons or their in-laws must buy the house. At that time, the house was still expensive compared to today we think expensive, but it was expensive. 30,000 house was very expensive. It was 30,000 when I bought it. But the community or the relatives or the friends or the in-laws, they used to let you borrow £1,000, £500, and you get the loans and 5,000 pound, and then they make you to buy without interest free. You paid him later, and that's what I think. What my generation is all are benefiting is the main reason. And if the in-laws not insisted to buy the house, which may be in other community, which probably struggling, I think. So, especially, whoever they insist to make him to buy, and once they got 10, 15 years, myself or somebody in my position, they knew it's good that we bought the house 10, 15 years ago.
Otherwise, you find it after, isn't it?
Yeah.
Once you bought it, it's a struggle. Like a lot of people, when you buy a house, you struggle, but you realize 10, 15, 20 years down the line that we put a lot of money into it. It was a lot of headache, a lot of stress, but it's good that we have our own house now.
No point. Yeah, definitely. Anytime you buy it, if you in the past, on a present, or in the future, houses, it will be expensive. According to the inflation, it will rise. So, and I think especially in this country, you can't go wrong with a motor and a brick. So obviously there is other lot of opportunity in this country. So obviously the in-laws took it to that way, and obviously I was still working, but at the same time we are very believe in a God in terms of that obviously whatever we do honestly, truthfully, and then you will achieve in your life or through the help of a God and their blessing, you will succeed, obviously. So for that belief, right from in a Indian culture, from India or in Kenya, they started buying a temple and make sure the people that comes to temple get the right advice. And it was just a basic advice, obviously, because you can see even today, if they are not being taught as per religion does not brainwash you or take you to the wrong path. It just basically say how to live good life in your this life. Obviously, basically said obviously not bad habit, drinking, eating, or a lot of gambling, and punctually on a time, looking out that's what really it says.
So I wanted to, you talked about God and community, and that I know how much of a big part that is of your life on the work that you're doing now. So let's talk about one of the other biggest things probably in your life as well, along with that, was Elm Pride Limited. Everybody knows, and if you don't know, it started in 1990. So what made you, I think you said it actually, you were limited. You are working for somebody else, or even you're self-employed, everything's limited. So why did you decide to create Elm Pride Limited? And what was that first year like for you?
Well, before I started a limited company, Elm Pride Limited, I obviously, let me just continue previously that I worked with the self-employed. Then I asked the director of that English company, I want to be on a price work, not on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So he said, okay, fine, we give you a price, you work. I started, that was it's called you work on a price. So whatever you do or fix in a square meter or linear meter, you get paid on a rate. So yeah, and he gave me for trial, and I working hard obviously, and not long hours, but obviously same hours, but working hard and not staying long for the break. And at the end of that job, I worked out at twice the money I was getting on a daily rate. So obviously that what it clicked me. So you must work for yourself as a business. So I worked again up to 79 on a day on that price work, labor.
Yeah.
And then in 79, I get another guy with me to help me. And then obviously from first English company, the other surveys moved to other bigger company. So they called me. They knew my role and my the personality maybe, and again
The quality of the finish. probably.
quality finish, that I finished on the time, and they found out that they're making money. So obviously they call you. So they called me in 90 in another company, and then it was the same. So I keep working as on a labor, and at that time I was just working as a carpentry, and then I worked up to carpentry in 95, and in 96 the other company started. There was a other division in there about the waterproofing company. So let me take you back. So I registered, because once you get a certain gross on a price, you have to be registered the company. So I said, I take the advice from the accountant. I said, what's the best way? He said, you better make it to limited, and then you can grow it, and then you get VAT registered, and that was the on November 1990. The limited company was formed. But before 6 months, I was working not as a limit taker, but obviously the accountant said if you're not registered, you have to pay the VAT yourself and not VAT registered. So I registered the VAT and then form. And at that time, the name Elm Pride, at that time, if you have to choose your name to be a limited, at that time it used to take 6 to 8 weeks to get registered. And account said if that is too long, by that time, when you file the account, you probably have to pay the VAT which you haven't charged it.
Yeah.
So he said there is a ready-made company on the shelf at that time, and that start working within a couple of days. And he gave me 6-7 choice.
Okay.
So I don't know. It did not make any means Elm Pride, and I thought Elm Pride is elm is a wood tree.
Yeah.
So I was doing a carpentry. Let's took this Elm Pride, take it registered, and then the work until that company 1995, 96, and then again it took over by other companies, same company. Again, then I working, but at the same time, they had a waterproof division.
Okay.
In 96, they said, can you start stripping it out, ABW work, before you do the waterproofing? So I said,
So
yes.
first you were carpentry joinery.
Yeah.
Elm Pride Limited started carpentry joinery, and then you started working for a waterproofing division of that company.
Yeah, but only
Yeah.
the ABW work, not the
Okay.
waterproof work.
The strip out and the
Strip
reinstatement.
out and reinstate
Yeah.
after they do the waterproofing. So, okay, to me, at that stage of my period, I still have to know more each and individual job and character. So I said, there's nothing wrong with it, try this one. So they were pleased, obviously, reinstate. And then said, it was a year after, said, why can't you start installing the membrane?
So they want you to do the waterproofing now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he showed us a few courses, and he took it to Delta Center, but working under them as a subcontractor, not
Yeah.
as a waterproof company that I can guarantee it or.
Yeah.
So his survey, go and do the survey, and that's what you need to apply. And it was basic, I think, because we worked in the building industry. When you do any carpentry, different type of carpentry, you just follow the instructions. So this was again to me, yeah. And then I had a few workers with me, working for me. So yeah, it's sort of fit the membrane, and then they were pleased. So started growing, and at that time, the building work, the company went bankrupt. So there were less work on the general building. So we concentrated more on waterproofing as for other company.
Yeah. So you got other people who are now giving you waterproofing work?
No, then what it happened, we've been few times to for the course, and we know. So even my other few staff had a course about this waterproofing or membrane or Sika, whatever. And then he started working, and we started taking subcontractor from the couple of 2-3 other companies as a waterproof companies. Started giving so I have to employ more men to do them, and they started giving me on a supply and fix with labor. So we have to buy the material. So we started knowing we have to buy the material and what to order, and obviously. And from there, when I was doing the subcontractor, I had the experience that before we go on the site, so his contractor manager, waterproof company, takes me a couple of days or weeks before. That's what it needs to be done. So then, okay, this is ready, this is not ready. From that stage, I knew that you need to do the planning, obviously.
Okay.
And then, so when everything is ready, you take the man, do the work, and I started making better profit than what I used to do in the milling side. And it wasn't a high rate, It wasn't a good rate they were giving me. They were just putting their percentage and passing to me. And they were doing the same with their firm. But what I think from my side, they estimated, okay, it takes a week. So I managed to finish in 4 days. So
Okay.
obviously 1 day's profit for 4 men is already jumped straight away.
Yeah.
And I realized that, okay, and subcontractor never allowed me to do the price. They used to give the price and I used to accept it. And I still was making better money than in a building site,
Yeah.
obviously. So then 1992, 93, for 6-7 years, got all the experience and started knowing the material, because I'm buying the material, so I know the rate for the material, and we started finding out, because what we getting the rate for the membrane or tape, so what we can charge to the client.
Yeah.
And then they started, and then when we started going in a big firm, and mostly they were community construction company, and said, you are doing the waterproof. I said, no, we're working for other waterproof company.
Yeah.
Oh, and then it clicked me again. Why can't we get registered? And because we doing everything, and let's register, and whatever the paperwork needs to be done, or course need to be done. And then through the Delta, Chris Burgry helped us. He said, yeah, you have worked quite a long as a subcontractor, have the final course, and then we put you as a approval installer.
Yeah.
And in 2003 or 2003, he gave us as a approval installer for Delta, and from there we started working, grew, and we started working direct with the main contractor.
Okay.
Obviously, still working, and previously worked with other waterproof company. I worked for several, but and that's how we started. But in that time, there was a not lot of paperwork. So obviously, the first child has to do the bit of paperwork with the first. Before the first child, I have to do my
Yes, sir.
estimate and thing in a small jobs by writing.
Yeah.
And then the first child has to take it over because and then the second one and the third one
And
then the fourth one.
I remember one by one.
One by one.
Everyone
And
gets
as
involved.
once they get married, they're going away. The next one
Next
has
one
to join.
comes in.
And then at the same time, obviously you're making money, so we started investing in the property as well, to as a retirement or for the kids, what our parents has done.
So I wanted to ask you, Dad, let's say the company started in 1990. It's been over 30 years, more than 11,000 days. But what did you think, or what would you envisage to be success? What's your target or your goal? The first day, Elm Pride Limited, 1990, what did you think would be, what was your target?
When I registered the company or started, the target wasn't the how big I want to grow it. That wasn't the target. The target was to make sure it's quality, clients are satisfied, and people who are work for you satisfied. That was the target right from the beginning. And whoever my employee previously and now, they worked long. Few people has moved to Australia, couple of them passed away, but they all worked for 20 years, 10 years, 15 years, and that what it makes the success of the company. Because if you chop and changing and not paying on a time and nagging people, this much you have to do. So I just left to them. So make sure they are satisfied with the work, no pressure, and that's the one part of the success. Other part of the success, you can't just relax on the sofa and say they are working. That never happened. Obviously, you have to spend the time. You have to plan it. You have to, whatever inquiry comes, you have to go for it. Don't just sleep or wake up late. So obviously, when there is a slowdown, take a rest, enjoy it. It's fine. But when you got a work or when they don't need it, just aim for it. So that's There's another way of succeeding. The other thing is, sometimes people think, oh, my friend is doing very good. Let's just jump in. I think that's wrong. I mean, it's not everybody goes wrong. But if you have no experience of what you buying or what you going to do it, and just copy it from what other has achieved and living a lavish life, I think that's where you go wrong. So it's just simple. If you want to go first or second floor, you can't just jump. You have to go first step, second step, then you go on the top. Once you're on the top, then you can fly. But you can't just, without step by step, without experience, you can't, I think, overall you can't get succeed.
And something that you said there about you got to go step by step. I think even for me at the beginning of whenever I joined the company or even anything I want to do in my life, I want the results straight away. But because I don't get it, I just give up or I don't put attention into it.
No, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's anything. If you, just take a simple meal. To cook a vegetable, you have to clean it, peel it off, cook it, and then let it be cool. Then you eat it. You can't just eat straight away raw from the farm. So this is a basic theory. But people think, no, let's just have it unripe and without a cook on and eat it. Obviously, you end up with it in a toilet. So that's not good for anyone.
Yeah.
And the result or the solution will be it costing you more, basically, simple as that. And other thing, and some of them get succeeded, and other thing, when you start stepping and when you succeeding, which I succeeded right all the way through in 30 years. So you don't get over exaggerated, don't get proud, or don't think, oh, I got everything, and start spending or start
being too big in it.
Not in a
even
big.
ego in it,
I mean, there's other people that don't want to grow big. They just want to see the money coming, so they start buying many stuff, obviously, which car or holiday or boat or villa or and in a couple of years it just all gets sunk, basically.
Yeah.
It in our religion is simple slog. So whatever you earn, you spend according to that, obviously. But start borrowing 100% and start spending, obviously you enjoyed it. At the end of the day or end of the period,
There's gonna be
you have to
problems.
face it.
Yeah.
By that time, it's already 100, 200 times more.
Yeah. I've got one more question to ask you, because just so everybody knows, we've got so much to talk about with my dad that and so many stories that it's not enough to do it in one episode. So we're gonna put it into 3 or 4 different episodes of the Brick by Brick podcast. There's so much other avenues of his life, the investment property side. Many of you may know when he had a big health scare by having a heart attack, what that was like. Even now, current day, what he does with the community and his feelings on his religion. But and I'm sure probably give me a headache if I don't mention her in the podcast in the first one. But one of my last questions today to you is, how important was mom's role in you being successful?
Well, again, before first child born, she was doing my role, obviously. She started doing paperwork, but accountant assist her, and then obviously to collect the material or to send the people on the site, because it's a small work. You can't just tell the worker, as I said in previous, how you treat your worker, that's what you get from it. So we started providing a service, let them drop it to the site, collect them, so they don't have to go in the train and give him a van. And so that's what you all get. So she used to drive, and she he help in a first beginning of the business, and then it's followed by the other kids. And now again, she's not probably doing much because everyone has been picked up by the kids. So again, she busy with the children, but still busy with the temple, organize the event or ladies side. So it's a big role she played in, and this was another point I could add it. To have a success in a business, you need your partner to be helping you or taking interest, and that's what it will reduce your overhead by employing another person, and your partner is not helping you or just relaxing or enjoying. That's where you lose your profit margin. So if you got then obviously that's why I see now enjoying all this holiday and every time she wants to go business class and living a high standard life, and this only can be done if you have worked hard. If you have not worked hard and you're expecting this is
Doesn't work.
not possible. I mean, sure, there is a lot more I would like to say on a basis of voluntary, on a religion side, and what you benefit again. I will mention in my second or third episode. And this only you do voluntary work and donate it if you have worked hard or if you have earned the money. If you have not earned the money, and without money is nothing anywhere else. Last, the words or the conclusion that treat your relation and the money with equal respect, because they are both hard to make it and very easy to lose it. So on that basis, if you follow the principle, you success. And if you don't follow, you're not success in your life, basically. So it's very, very important. Sure, there will be more on a second episode.
Yep. So just like we said, we've got a lot more episodes lined up with a lot more different people from the construction industry and outside the construction industry, and we've got at least another 3-4 episodes that we're going to have with the old man here. But for today, that's the Brick by Brick podcast. We hope you tune in and like, follow, subscribe to all our channels so you're never missing out on all the new content that's coming out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pleasure.